Hey, Nation, Harry here, and I am with a new friend. I have to believe we've known each other a long time, but we've gotten to know each other better lately. I'm with Steve Taylor out of Ohio, who has the popular Rocket MSP podcast. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, good. So, uh, what for the audience at SMB Nation that they don't know who you are, and let's start with you. So you're a practicing MSP and a podcaster. So give us the 411 on you, then we'll get into the show.
Sure. So, oh boy. So I started working at I'll call it like a parts sales shop back in 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. Um, and from there, I went and worked with one of my clients after a few years, who was well, not an MSP at the time, an IT consulting company.
Sure.
And I worked there until 2009. We lost one of our biggest clients in 2009. And the reason we lost them is because we let go a guy who wasn't doing what he said he was going to do. We had no contracts or anything. So he just went and said, hey, instead of paying them 80,000 a year, why don't you pay me 80,000 a year and I'll just be a full-time employee.
Yep.
They went for it, and that was like my only client because I was doing about 130 hours a month for them. And then, little projects here and there I'd help with. So they had to let me go because they weren't doing a good enough job bringing in more work. So at that point, I literally had just gotten back from my honeymoon the week before,
Oh, wow.
and they let me go, and I decided to heck with this. I went upstairs to the Akron Global Business Accelerator, and they helped me fill out the paperwork, and I started my company.
Yep.
And
Yep.
here I
That's
am.
the what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. My story's similar, but it wasn't as abrupt. I was at a large regional Pacific Northwest accounting firm, and in 1999 they shut down the network consulting division because of the conflict with Enron. You may recall audit and IT, and the FASBA said you got to shut down. Now, Steve, to their credit, they packaged me out. They let me stay another 9 months and take the client. So it wasn't quite the same story, but um, to some extent, I've that's how I got going. I mean, it's everybody's got to start. What is the Rocket MSP podcast?
Well, basically, it's a long form
Yep.
podcast. When people are asking me what it is, like other vendors, I typically start out by describing it as, "Have you listened to Joe Rogan's podcast?" And that usually breaks the ice because you know
Yeah.
it's a fun podcast to listen to,
Oh yeah,
right?
he's a rock star.
He is. I'm not quite the rock star, but I like to have longer, deeper conversations with people. Whether I'm meeting with an MSP or somebody that just does like the IT coaching type stuff, or I'm sitting down with a vendor and we're doing a deep dive on their product. I'm going to ask the tough questions that MSPs would want to know if they were in a sales call. So, who's your investors, private equity or anything like that? What's your compliance and security, and how does your support work? Just all that kind of stuff. And then we share the screen, and sometimes that demo might go for an hour or longer just on itself, and I try and poke holes in the software. I kind of started this, gosh, I think it's been 4 years now, maybe five. I don't
Yeah,
even
that's what
know
it says
anymore.
up on LinkedIn. That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, last year was a hell of a decade, so um it all kind of flows together. But I started this as almost like a gag. Okay, so if you go back and look at some of the first videos, like, you know i'm I'm just here, working in my office, and it's me and some of my buddies who we were always in Zoom together, and I would say, hey, let's go live on YouTube and see if we can have a conversation that helps people. And eventually it turned into something that I started scheduling and inviting vendors on. And it's just kind of morphed into this thing where I'm doing 2 or 3 of these episodes a week. And I've even started putting it up on a podcast. So that way, whether people want to watch it or listen to it with YouTube, or if they want to use their favorite podcast platform, they've got it.
Now, so let me get this straight. So you have, I get the vendor guest thing, and we resemble that over at SMB Nation as well. But you also have people who are doing the work, carrying the bag, thought leaders. So it's not just vendors, is I think what I heard.
Correct. While I was the guy who, for the first several years in my MSP, I was afraid to sell. So instead, I would just find things to keep myself busy. Oh, yeah, I've been using Zendesk. Now let's switch to Autotask or whatever. Like, I would just switch tools to keep myself busy. That way I didn't have to go sell. And I would pick up clients, just not nearly as quickly as if I went out and sold. So because of that, I've got this deep love for new shiny objects and new gadgets, new toys. I've always been like this, even since I was a kid, and that makes sitting down with a vendor really fun and exciting for me because I'll sit down and I'll take a look at some of these tools, look through the dashboard and whatever else, and I'm like, I have no use for this, but it's so pretty. I just want to play with it. So I get the opportunity to do that. But sometimes I just want to teach MSPs how to do something better.
Yeah.
Um, right now, especially with this cybersecurity landscape and everything that they're doing with executive orders and all that good stuff. Right now, it's more important than ever for us as MSPs to do right by our clients and to make sure that we're just delivering the best service we possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, I concur. Here's the thing, and nice turn in the conversation. Um, this isn't my first recession. Okay, I've been
Mhm.
around the block before, and I'm still here. So that's the good news. And what do we have? We had .gone early 2000s. We had '08, and that went on for a little while, and then we had the pandemic. And I'll tell you, I am a better worker. I am a better service provider. I'm a better friend in a recession because I
Hmm.
revisit the basics of good business behavior. My attention level goes up, etc. What Steve, what's happened to me in the past is when times were good, my early small business server days, sort of my thing. Um, at least my blind spot is you get a little comfortable. You get a little comfortable, and it's like, it's Friday, it's sunny. I think I'll go for an afternoon bike ride, which is fine. But you get a little comfortable. But boy, howdy, when a recession hits, I'm taking stairs two at a time and sharpening the saw and all those other phrases they use in business books. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. In fact, I mean, you said it. 2008, that housing crisis kind of lasted a while. So I was starting my company in a recession like a crazy person,
Yeah,
and I'm still around, so I'm doing something right. Um, it's different when you're in a recession. I remember um, I actually went hard with the whole podcast thing shortly after the pandemic started. There was that period where I thought, maybe Resident Evil was based on a true story, and I panicked, and then I shook myself out of it, uh, and then I started going hard with the podcast thing. Uh, I think I've done probably 100 interviews now
yeah,
in the last 14 months.
yeah, exactly. Finally, and we'll circle back to you next quarter. I want to make you one of our regular, I call them analysts, but be fun to double click into some actual topics next time, right? So now that people got to
Sure.
know you, where can people find you? I was kind of Googling, and is there a preferred URL? Where can we find you?
So if you go to rocketmsp.io,
Oh,
um,
IO. Okay.
yeah, .io, yeah, because someone already owned rocketmsp.com
Okay.
and maybe even .net. So I've thought, well, IO, it doesn't really matter for SEO. It's just harder to
Yep.
remember.
There you are.
So yeah, if you go there, you'll be able to see the podcast schedule. I'll be getting that updated later today. You'll see all the guests that I have coming up in the next month or so.
Oh yeah.
You'll
Some
also be able to
familiar
see
names.
about the accountability groups that I run. Um, but I don't want to pitch a whole bunch of stuff here. I'd rather
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
talk.
Well, no, no, no. I'm looking at it. Yeah, I see our friends over at Verosoft, and yeah, yeah, you're getting some good augment. You're getting some good guests. Final question. So, are you still carrying the bag? Are you still an MSP out servicing some clients?
For a little while longer.
Okay.
I'm not looking for new clients. In fact, I'm about to start my exit strategy here from the MSP, just because I really enjoy this.
Sure.
And I think, not I think, I know that the longer I kind of wait to stop doing the MSP stuff, the harder it's going to be for my clients, because I'm not able to necessarily keep up with things as well as a full-time MSP.
Yeah,
Like
I hear
sure,
you.
I'm seeing everything at face value, at surface value, but I'm not diving super deep into how to configure all these tools and do it correctly and just all that stuff. Cybersecurity, I mean, over the last couple of years, this has really picked up, and it's frustrating because they've made it so easy. Like you can just sign up for a SaaS service, and now suddenly you're a ransomware entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I still, well, don't challenge me, but I think I could still rattle off, what is it, the 7 layers of the OSI model.
Oh
I,
brother, yeah.
yeah, you and suffice it to say, we go back to old school days where you actually had to memorize that stuff and, this, that, and the other. And kids today, what are you going to do? Kids today.
Kids today don't even realize there is an OSI model. I so I went to a vocational school for the last 2 years of high school, and I got my Cisco. Uh, no, I did not get my Cisco. I got my Novell NetWare CNA 5 in my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
That was in 2000 2001, right when we shouldn't be worrying about NetWare anymore. And then I did 2 years of Cisco CCNA training, and the teachers just the first teacher really didn't teach very well. The second teacher was great, but at that point the damage was done. I don't remember how the scoring worked, but let's say you get like 7 points for putting your name on the test. I'm pretty sure I got six. Okay, so I did not do very well on that test. But I remember, the OSI model was part of that, and we had to learn the different the TIA 568A and 568B, and we had to like make cables, and it was awesome. It was such a great
Oh,
learning
and that's when
experience.
I carried the bag. Back to my point about the '90s, right? When I was carrying the bag at the firm, and I was downloading drivers at 2 a.m. And I mean, those were great days. And there's days I miss it, but well, hey, Steve, we're going to catch you next quarter. We're in Q2, so enjoy the early summer, and we're going to circle back to you and double click into one of your topics. I'll work with you on that. You got a lot of topics to pick from.
I definitely do. Hey, thanks so much for having me on here, Harry.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Steve.